Welcome back to more political chatter. In this video, we will be talking about the Montana Senate race in 2024 and how Donald Trump has just announced that he is endorsing Tim Sheehy over incumbent Representative Matt Rosendale. So this came as not necessarily a huge surprise, but an interesting move from Trump in this Senate race. This is such a critical Senate race heading into 2024, likely the most critical because Senate control really does hang over Montana and Ohio, and right now it's looking like Montana will be closer than Ohio, making Montana, the most competitive and most critical state heading into 2024 in the Senate elections, uh, and due to this hyperpartisanship in the Senate with its current 51 to 49 status, and it likely to flip in 2024. So Montana is a safe red state, as I'm sure you all know, but they actually do have an incumbent Democratic senator, that being John Tester. He going back to 2018, John Tester won by 3.6% over Matt Rosendale, who just announced yesterday? Yes, yesterday, that he was running for Senate again, and Trump endorsed Tim Sheehy on this same day. So it was really a slap in the face move for to Matt Rosendale, considering Matt Rosendale is one of the two U.S. representatives that represent Montana. He is well known already. He has a high ranking among or in the Senate among Republicans, and despite this, Trump endorsed this little known Navy SEAL, Tim Sheehy, who isn't really well known at all yet. Doesn't really have a huge financial backing, doesn't have any political experience, and Trump endorsed him over Matt Rosendale the same day that Matt Rosendale entered this race for Senate. So, with this Trump endorsement, I don't expect Matt Rosendale to possibly win this Republican primary. Um, Looking at this primary, uh, obviously this will be extremely critical for the general election, and voters, or not necessarily voters, but other people putting resources into this primary campaign. They are all definitely going to consider how significant the candidate of the Republican nominee that the party puts up, how important that is for Senate control. But looking at the polls that we have seen coming out of this Republican primary, back in August and June, when Tim Sheehy had just announced his candidacy, was even less well known than he is now. Matt Rosendale led because he does represent half of the state in Congress. He is more well known. People know who Matt Rosendale is, so he led polls by a lot. But then Tim Sheehy started to get more money. I'm sure started running some commercials. I've seen ads for him on social media and stuff, and he began to lead. First by 3, then by 3 again. That was in October. Mind you, the polls where he was losing was in August and June. And then in November, we haven't had a single poll since November, but in November, Tim Sheehy um, led by 16. So, this isn't super representative of the votes. By this time in November, Matt Rosendale had not announced his candidacy. So, obviously, Matt Rosendale will get more than 24%. If he had 24% in November, considering that he will now run commercials, actually put money and campaign in this race, he will gain on that 30 or that 24%. I would hope, but still, but maybe not. After this Trump endorsement, maybe not, because he is a Freedom Caucus member. He was definitely seen as the more pro-Trump, more conservative candidate in this race, but for whatever reason, I don't really know why, but Trump endorsed Tim Sheehy. So obviously, so critical. As Tim Sheehy is probably favored to be the Republican nominee. Tim Sheehy is running a good campaign from what I've seen. And we've got to remember, 2018, Republican, and I think that like Steve Daines, the senator from Montana, the Republican who serves with John Tester, I believe he endorsed Tim Sheehy. And a lot of prominent Republicans are because of 2018. In 2018, it was John Tester versus Matt Rosendale, which is what Rosendale's trying to recreate in 2024. It was this matchup, and John Tester won. Obviously, this was a blue wave year. John Tester. Trump was president. John Tester was probably favored from the beginning, but still, it is Montana. In 20, let's see, in 2020, Trump won Montana by a safe, solid margin, 16.4%. In 2016, it was 20.5%, even more. So, despite that, John Tester won by 4, which is, from 2016 to 2018, a 24-point shift to the left. So that one shows you how electorally strong, um, whatever his name is, sorry, I'm trying to get House up for Matt Rosendale. It shows you how strong John Tester is as a candidate, but it also might show you how weak Matt Rosendale might be as a nominee. But Rosendale was able to win by 34% in 2022, but checking back at, wait, they only had one seat in 2018? So, wait, what? Even in 2020? So Rosendale won by only 12.8% in 2020. Statewide in Montana. Statewide, he won by 12 when, in that same race in 2020, Donald Trump won by 16. So he underperforms Trump, even, despite being a pro-Trump candidate. He despites Trump, and, that's one congressional district statewide. And if Trump is, whatever. I don't know where I'm going with this. But it's going to be difficult for Matt Rosendale, if he were to be the nominee, to be underperforming Trump in 2024, and by a lot. But let's say the 5% like he did in 2020. And then you've got already such a naturally close race with such a popular Democratic incumbent. You really can't afford to underperform Trump by 5 in such a competitive race. So that's why I think that Tim Sheehy is the more competitive opponent for John Tester, the one that could actually win. Matt Rosendale's track record of 2018 underperforming Trump in 2022 is, definitely should be a worrying sign for the Republicans, and I think that they will nominate Tom Sheehy, and that is probably why Trump endorsed Tim Sheehy, so that they could actually win. But as I was saying, this Senate race is so important for Senate control. Let's assume that Texas and Florida, Ted Cruz and Rick Scott, hang on. Let's assume that Tammy Baldwin hangs on, Bob Casey hangs on, and Alyssa Slotkin takes Debbie Stabenow's seat in Michigan. They probably all will. Let's say that Jackie Rosen wins in Nevada. That's likely to happen. Let's say that Ruben Gallego wins in Arizona. That's probably going to happen. And I actually do think that, considering that Bernie Moreno is likely to be the Republican nominee in Ohio Senate race due to Donald Trump's endorsement, Bernie Moreno is a very extreme conservative candidate that would not fare well in a Senate race. Sherrod Brown, the Democrat incumbent in Ohio, is probably favored to win at this point. So that puts Republicans at 50 seats, Democrats at 49. Now, if Donald Trump wins the presidency, they already have majority. But still, it would be nice to have 51 seats versus 49 also. But if, Joe Biden were to win re-election, which is still completely possible, it all comes down to Montana. If Democrats win Montana and Biden was reelected, then they would still somehow have control of the Senate. But if Republicans were able to pick up this seat, that would give them 51 to 49. So despite who wins the presidency and the vice presidency, Republicans would still have control. So that means Ohio or Montana is such an important state because we do really have an idea of how each state will go. I mean, the vast majority we do, Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Texas, Florida. Ohio is a little iffy, but most people are thinking, considering that Trump endorsed Bernie Moreno, and Moreno is likely to be the GOP nominee there. Sherrod Brown is probably going to hang on in Ohio. So again, it all comes down to Montana, and people are very split on this. It really can go either way. Both Sheehy and John Tester both have a very good shot at becoming the next senator from Montana. So I don't know. I'm not here to make a final prediction, obviously. Right now, I think that Tim Sheehy, considering how much of a better candidate he would be than Matt Rosendale, I think as a Navy SEAL, as a younger, more likable campaigner, I think that that Tim Sheehy would be favored to win in Montana. So I will make a video on this, but I do think that Senate control is doomed for Democrats. I don't think that they could possibly retain control. If they were to do that, they would have to win Montana, which is definitely a feat, and they would have to win the presidency. I mean, they're not keeping 51 seats, obviously. That means that they would have to pick up Texas, which is extremely unlikely. But if they were to keep Senate control, they would have to win Montana, Ohio, all the other states, plus win the presidency. And the presidency might be the biggest feat of all. So Montana, so important heading into the 2024 Senate elections. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.